everyone, I'm Joanne and today I'm going to be reading you all a story based on fairy tales. The fairy tale I have chosen is Cinderella. Once upon a time a rich gentleman decided to marry again, so his lovely daughter could have a mother to care for her. Unfortunately, he chose a proud and selfish woman with two daughters just like herself. She did not reveal her true character until after the wedding. She ordered his little girl to work in the kitchen while she and her daughters enjoyed a life of splendour. When the child had finished her work, she used to sit in the chimney corner among the cinders, so everyone called her Cinderella. Her clothes were dirty and ragged, but she was far prettier than her sisters. One day an invitation arrived from the palace. The king's son was given a ball. The sisters could not have been happier. They talked of nothing but what they could wear and ordered beautiful gowns. Cinderella would have loved to have gone too. The wicked sisters teased her mercilessly, saying, "Wouldn't you just love to dress up in these fine clothes and ride in a carriage and dance with rich young men, and maybe even with the prince himself?" It was known that the prince was in search of a wife, and Cinderella's stepmother had high hopes for her daughters. Soon the great day arrived. Cinderella was busy all day, dressing her sisters and combing their hair, and when the splendid carriage arrived to take them to the ball, she dustfully arranged their gowns so they would not crumple on the way. When they were out of sight, Cinderella began to cry. All of a sudden her fairy godmother appeared and said, "Why are you crying?" "I wish I could go to the ball," sobbed Cinderella. "That you shall. Run along and bring me a pumpkin." Cinderella brought the biggest pumpkin that the fairy godmother turned it into a beautiful gold coach with a touch of her magic wand. Cinderella was then sent to find 6 mice to turn into dapple grey horses, a rat to turn into a handsome coachman, and 6 lizards to make smart footmen. "Well now, will that fit to carry a lady in the ball?" asked the fairy godmother. "Oh yes," replied Cinderella. "But, aha, you're wondering what you are going to wear with these words." She waved her wand over Cinderella, and in an instant her rags became the most magnificent dress you can imagine. On her feet were a beautiful pair of glass slippers. "Off you go," said the fairy godmother, "but leave the palace before the clock strikes midnight, as this magic will be undone." When she appeared in the ballroom, everyone fell silent and the music and dancing stopped, for she was the most beautiful young woman in the room. The young prince took her hand and led her out to dance with him. He danced with no one else the whole evening. When they sat down to the feast, the prince did not eat a thing, so busy was he looking at her. The dancing continued. Cinderella was so happy she danced every dance and did not feel tired. Then she heard her clock striking the hour. "It must be 11 o'clock. It cannot possibly be midnight yet," she said to herself. But as she turned and saw the clock, Cinderella gasped with fright and ran as fast as she could from the ballroom. The prince tried to catch up with her. As she ran out towards the golden carriage, she lost one of her glass slippers at the very moment, and the prince bent down to retrieve the slipper. The clock struck 12. As he stood up, the prince lost sight of his beautiful dancing partner and the coach and horses. The music and dancing would have continued until morning, But the prince was in no mood for celebration, and all the guests were sent away. He took the glass slipper to the king and said, "I will find the maiden whose foot this slipper fits, and when I have found her, she will be my bride." The prince went to every house in search of Cinderella. Cinderella's stepmother grew very excited when the prince arrived at their house. "It's only a shoe," she said to her daughters. "One of you will be able to squeeze your foot into it." But they tried in vain. It was a tiny, dainty slipper, and the sisters had big, clumsy feet. "Are there any other young women in this house?" asked the prince. "Only Cinderella," said the mother, "but she works in the kitchen, and we didn't take her to the ball." "Bring her here," demanded the prince, and when Cinderella tried on the slipper, everyone cried, "It fits! It fits!" The stepmother and her daughters were white with rage. The prince looked into Cinderella's eyes and recognized that she was indeed the beautiful stranger he had danced with, and he took her away to be his bride. They lived happily for many years in the great palace, and the princess, who later became queen, was always kind to her servants and invited them to attend the annual ball. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you all enjoyed it. Take care, stay safe. Bye.